Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again to get into some really powerful ideas, pull them apart a bit, and find the wisdom that, well, really sticks with you.
That's the goal.
And today, we are definitely diving deep. We're exploring Marianne Williamson's classic, A Return to Love.
A hugely influential book for so many people.
Absolutely. For a lot of folks, this was really the book that opened the door to understanding A Course in Miracles.
Right. ASIM, as it's often called.
Yeah, and ASIM can be, let's say, a challenging read sometimes. It's this profound spiritual framework. But Williamson just made it feel so accessible, so personal.
She really did. She brought it down to earth, you could say. Made it deeply moving for a much wider audience.
Exactly. Now, for anyone maybe less familiar, A Course in Miracles, it's not really a religion in the traditional sense.
No, it's presented as a self-study spiritual thought system.
Right. It offers this very distinct path towards inner peace. And Williamson's genius, I think, is how she takes these core teachings
These really central ideas.
and translates them into practical guidance. Stuff you can actually use in your everyday life.
That's key. Practicality.
And right at the heart of it all, the core of everything we're going to talk about today is this one fundamental choice.
Just one.
Well, one fundamental kind
Yes.
of choice that we face constantly, like every single moment.
Okay.
It's the choice that really shapes our experience, how we see our relationships, how we see, well, everything,
Yeah.
our whole reality.
That's precisely it. And that's our mission for this deep dive, really. To get under the skin of this central teaching from the Course, which Williamson eliminates so vividly,
Which is,
that our only true choice, the only one that ultimately matters in any given situation, is always between fear and love.
fear and love. Sounds simple, but
It sounds simple, but the implications are massive. We're going to unpack how Williamson guides us in shifting our perception, moving away from what she calls the ego's world.
which is all about separation.
Right.
Scarcity, conflict.
Exactly. Shifting from that to what she calls the spirit's world. And that's a realm of miracles, connection, peace. Unconditional peace.
Miracles. That's a big word.
It is, and we'll unpack what that means in this context. But let me just say, this isn't just, abstract theory we're batting around.
Right. Not just philosophical navel-gazing.
Far from it. This is meant to be a practical guide, something you can actually use to transform your daily experience, to help you understand the subtle energies, love and fear that are constantly playing out in your life.
And we're drawing on more than just Williamson, right?
Oh, absolutely. To give this the kind of universal weight it deserves, we've pulled in insights from Williamson, of course, but also from others who explore similar territory.
Like who?
Well, people like Eckhart Tolle, C.S. Lewis, Joseph Campbell, Neil Donald Walsh, and insights from various spiritual traditions, too.
Okay, so a broad perspective.
Exactly. All pointing towards this same fundamental principle, this choice between fear and love. It really is about tapping into a deeper truth that you find echoed across different times and cultures.
Okay, let's dive right into that core idea then. Williamson puts it so powerfully, right near the start of Return to Love. She offers this foundational insight, something that can really shift your whole view of spirituality.
What's that?
She says, once we get to the point where we realize that God is love, we understand that following God simply means following the dictates of love.
Wow. Okay. That really simplifies things, doesn't it?
It totally reframes it. Suddenly, God isn't this, distant, maybe judgmental figure up in the sky.
Right. It becomes an active principle, love, something present, personal.
Yes. It makes the divine feel accessible, not something outside you, but the very essence of what you are.
That's a huge shift. And Williamson, she's brilliant because she doesn't just leave you there. She immediately pushes to the next logical step, the next challenge. She points out, the question is no longer what is God? The question we ask now is what is love?
Ah, okay. So if God is love and following God means following love, then we need to know what love actually is.
Precisely. It reorients the whole quest. Forget abstract theology. Let's talk about lived experience.
And from knowing about God to learning how to be loved.
Exactly. It becomes incredibly practical. Because love, in this view, isn't just a nice feeling. It's a way of being, a way of perceiving the world.
So how do we define love then?
Yeah.
Because we use that word for everything, from pizza to partners.
Right. It gets diluted. But Williamson cuts through the noise, the romantic notions, the sentimentality. She gets right to the core.
And what does she say?
She says, and this is really crucial, love is energy.
Energy, okay.
It's not something we can perceive with our physical senses, but people can usually tell you when they feel it and when they don't.
So it's not about seeing or touching, but about sensing, and intuitive knowing.
Exactly. Like walking into a room, you can often feel the vibe, right? Whether it feels warm and welcoming or tense and cold, that's the energy she's talking about. You might not see it, but you feel its presence or its absence.
Okay, love as energy. That feels different, more fundamental.
And if you really sit with that idea, the implications just ripple outwards, don't they?
How so?
Well, if love is a fundamental energy, then whether it's present or absent has real, tangible effects, not just on our mood, but on the world.
Right.
Williamson paints this picture. First, a loveless place, a world dominated by fear, by the ego. Then she flips it. Imagine a world where all of us were in love all the time with everyone.
Sounds nice, but maybe a bit idealistic.
Well, listen to the results she predicts. Not just niceness, but only peace.
Only peace.
And she connects it directly to global issues. There would be no wars because we wouldn't fight. Why? Because love wouldn't allow it. There would be no hunger because we would feed each other. Again, love compels connection and care. There would be no environmental breakdown because we would love ourselves, our children, and our planet too much to destroy it.
So she's saying these massive problems, war, hunger, ecological disaster, they aren't fundamentally problems of politics or economics or technology?
Not at their root, no. She is suggesting they stem from a fundamental misdirection of energy, a lack of love.
The dominance of fear of separation.
Precisely. If our choices, from the personal right up to the global, were truly fueled by love, by empathy, by connection, by wanting the best for everyone, how would that change things?
It would change. Well, probably everything. How we trade, how we share resources, how we educate, how we resolve conflict.
It's a call to fundamentally shift the operating system, from competition and fear to cooperation and love. She believes the external problems would naturally dissolve if that internal shift happened.
That's a radical idea.
It is. And Neil Donald Walsh, in Conversations with God, takes this idea of love as energy even further, to a cosmic level.
How does he put it?
He says, we are all the same stuff. We are all the same energy, coalesced, compressed in different ways to create different forms and different matter.
So everything is ultimately the same energy.
That's the idea. And he calls this fundamental energy absolute love. He describes it as the God and the goddess, the Alpha and the Omega. It is that which you have sought to understand from the beginning of time. There is only one of us, and so it is that which you are.
Wow. So love isn't just an energy between things, it's the energy of things, the stuff we're made of.
Exactly. It reinforces love as the fundamental unifying energy of all existence. We're all expressions of this one absolute love.
Okay, so if love is the fundamental reality, the bedrock, what about the flip side? What about fear, negativity, what some might call evil? It certainly feels real.
It absolutely feels real and powerful. It's easy to think of it as an equal and opposite force to love.
Like dark versus light.
Right. But C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, offers a really different perspective. He argues that evil is a parasite, not an original thing.
A parasite? What does that mean?
It means it doesn't have its own source of life or power. It has to feed on something else. Lewis says, the powers which enable evil to carry on are powers giving it by goodness.
Huh. That's counterintuitive. So evil borrows power from good. How does that work?
Think about it. For someone to be effectively cruel, they might need intelligence or determination or courage, qualities that are inherently good, or at least neutral. Evil takes these good things and twists them, misuses them for destructive ends.
So without the good raw materials, evil couldn't actually do anything.
Lewis would argue yes. It has no creative power of its own. It only distorts, corrupts, or negates. It's like a shadow. A shadow seems real, but it's just the absence of light. It exists only because of the light.
Okay, I think I get that. So fear, negativity, evil. They aren't independent powers fighting against love.
According to this view, no. They are a lack, a distortion, an absence of love. Fear is the parasite feeding on the energy that love or goodness provides. It exists only because love exists.
That changes things, doesn't it? If fear isn't an equal opponent.
It's incredibly empowering. It means we're not locked in an eternal battle between two equal forces. We're simply working to bring more light, more love into the areas where it seems absent. You don't fight a shadow, you turn on the light.
Okay, so fear is the parasite.
Yeah.
The absence of love. But what allows it to take hold? What's the host organism within us that creates this space for fear?
Now we get to the crux of it for many spiritual teachers, including Williamson. The culprit is usually identified as the ego.
The ego. We hear that term a lot. What exactly is it in this context?
Well, Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, gives a really clear definition. He calls the basic dysfunction of humanity our identification with the mind.
Identifying with our thoughts.
Yes, which then creates a false self, the ego, as a substitute for your true self rooted in being.
A false self,
Yeah.
a substitute. So the ego isn't really us.
It's not our deepest truth, according to Toll and Williamson. It's a mental construct, a collection of thoughts, beliefs, memories, social roles, past conditioning, all bundled together to create this sense of a separate individual me.
And this me is where the problems start.
Light argues yes. He says the problems of the mind cannot be solved on the level of the mind. The ego is the mind identification, so it can't fix itself.
So trying to think our way out of ego problems is futile?
Largely, yes. Because the ego is always driven by a sense of lack. It's always looking outside itself for completion, for meaning, for validation, usually in the future.
Always striving, always needing something more.
Exactly. As Tola says in A New Earth, as long as you are unaware of being, you will seek meaning only within the dimension of doing and of future, that is to say, the dimension of time.
Doing and future, that sounds like most of modern life.
It does, doesn't it? But here's the catch. Any meaning the ego finds there, in doing or in the future, is only relatively and temporarily true. It will be destroyed by time.
So it's like building on sand.
Pretty much. It's a hamster wheel. You achieve something, feel good for a moment, then the ego immediately asks, okay, what's next? Because the external achievement can never fill the internal sense of lack that drives the ego. It's looking in the wrong place.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about climbing the corporate ladder. You get the promotion, the bigger office, the raise. Does that bring lasting peace or fulfillment?
Usually not for long. There's always the next rung, or someone else who has more.
Exactly. The ego's hunger is insatiable because it's based on the illusion of separation and lack. Toll uses other examples too, like if your meaning comes from being a parent, what happens when the kids grow up and don't need you in the same way?
Your purpose seems to vanish.
Or if your meaning comes from helping others, you unconsciously need others to be worse off than you so you can feel good about yourself. It's all based on external conditions, comparisons, things that are inherently unstable.
And this constant striving, this sense of lack, it connects to those feelings of not being good enough, right? That sense of unworthiness.
Absolutely. Brene Brown's work on shame really nails this. She defines shame as the fear of being unlovable. It's the deep-seated fear that if people really saw us, flaws and all, we wouldn't belong. It's the opposite of feeling worthy.
And that's the ego's playground, isn't it? That fear of being unlovable.
Totally. And Tara Brach, in Radical Acceptance, links this feeling of unworthiness directly to the feeling of separation.
How so?
She says, feeling unworthy goes hand in hand with feeling separate from others, separate from life. If we are defective, how can we possibly belong?
It's a vicious cycle.
Exactly. The more deficient we feel, the more separate and vulnerable we feel. And this deep sense of being flawed and separate creates this underlying anxiety, this primal fear that something is wrong with life, that something bad is about to happen.
And how do we react?
Often with blame or anger directed outwards at others or inwards at ourselves. But the root cause, the pain of feeling separate and unworthy, remains untouched. This is the ego's game. It keeps us trapped in comparison, competition, striving for external validation that can never truly satisfy.
It sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting. It's fear wearing the mask of ambition or self-improvement.
There's an interesting perspective on this in a much older text, Theologia Germanica. It's from the 14th century.
Okay, what does it say?
It talks about the old man, describes him as Adam in disobedience, the self, the me, and so forth. Basically the ego.
Right, the separate self.
And it says this old man should be destroyed.
Destroyed. That sounds drastic.
It does. It says he shouldn't seek its own either in spiritual or in natural things. What does that really mean, to destroy the ego? Is it about hating yourself?
That's a really important clarification. It sounds harsh, but it's not about self-hatred. Think of it more like dismantling a false structure.
Okay.
The old man, the I, the ego, it's all those attachments, those desires for external approval, the self-serving motives, the neediness. Destroying it means consciously choosing to stop feeding those patterns.
Starving the ego.
Exactly. Detaching from those fear-driven ways of being so your actions start coming from a deeper place, from love, from connection rather than just self-interest. It's about letting go of who you think you need to be to make space for who you truly are.
Peeling back the layers.
Yes. And this idea directly contrasts with the ego's usual way of operating, which is very self-serving. The Tao Te Ching has some sharp observations about this.
What does it say?
It says things like, To the self-serving, nothing shines forth. To the self-promoting, nothing is distinguished. To the self-appointing, nothing bears fruit. To the self-righteous, nothing endures.
So all those egoic tendencies trying to grab for yourself, puffing yourself up, thinking you're better than others, they actually block the flow of life. They prevent good things from happening.
That's precisely the Taoist view. It compares that kind of behavior to rotting food and painful growths on the body, things that all creatures despise.
Wow, strong words.
Very strong. It suggests these ego patterns are what we need to uproot, throw out, and leave behind if we want to align with the natural way, the Tao, or what Williamson calls the path of love. They're the self-imposed obstacles to experiencing the spirit's world, the world of miracles.
Okay, so we've painted a picture of the ego's world, separation, fear, striving. What about the alternative? What does the spirit's world, the world of the true self, actually feel like?
Eckhart Tolle gives us a way in. He talks about the arising of space consciousness.
Space consciousness? What's that?
He describes it as coming fully into the present moment and ceasing thinking without loss of consciousness.
Ceasing thinking. How is that possible? Our minds are always going.
He suggests a very practical entry point, simply being aware of your breath.
Just focusing on the breath can stop thoughts.
It can create gaps in the stream of thought. And it's crucial to understand this isn't about spacing out or becoming unconscious.
Right. It's not like falling asleep.
No, quite the opposite. Tolle emphasizes that in this state, far from being in a trance or half asleep, you are fully awake and highly alert. You are not falling below thinking, but rising above it.
Rising above thinking. Okay. So it's a state of heightened awareness, not dulled awareness.
Exactly. This being, this space consciousness, is the foundation of the true self. It's where you find inherent meaning, not meaning tied to external things that fade. Imagine your mind is like a noisy, busy highway.
Okay, I can picture that.
Space consciousness is like finding a quiet viewpoint beside the highway. You're still aware of the traffic, the thoughts, but you're not caught in it. You're observing from a place of stillness, of spaciousness.
Okay. Detached observation.
Yes. The ego's constant chatter quiets down, and that allows a deeper connection to reality, to the present moment, to your true nature.
And Marianne Williamson gives us this incredible vision of what happens when this connection, this state of being, is lived out collectively.
What does she envision?
She imagines if all of us were in love all the time with everyone. The result? Only peace.
Only peace. It underscores love as the unifying force, doesn't it? The operating system of the spirit's world.
It seems like it. The glue holding it all together.
And this really resonates with Neil Donald Walsh again in Conversations with God. He talks about the divine dichotomy.
The divine dichotomy. Sounds paradoxical.
It is, he says. There's only one of us. There are many of us.
Only one, but many. How can both be true?
Think of the ocean and its waves. The ocean is one vast single entity,
Right.
but on its surface, there are countless individual waves. Each looks separate, has its own little life cycle, but fundamentally, what is every wave made of?
Ocean water.
Exactly. The waves are the many, the ocean is the one. Our sense of being separate individuals is like a wave forgetting it's part of the ocean. It's an illusion, a temporary experience.
So underneath the appearance of separation, we're all connected. All part of the same stuff.
That's the core message. We are all manifestations of that same absolute love, that divine ocean. When we operate from that understanding, from love as our shared essence, the fear-based illusion of separation dissolves.
And that leads to peace. Moving from the wave's perspective to the ocean's perspective.
Beautifully put.
You know, Joseph Campbell talks about this deep inner place, too. In The Power of Myth, he speaks of this universal search for a place to find within yourself, not somewhere out there.
Yes, that inner sanctuary. And he uses a fantastic analogy from sports and dance to describe what it feels like to operate from there.
What's the analogy?
He says, the athlete who is in top form has a quiet place within himself, and it's around this somehow that his action occurs. It's the same for a dancer, he notes. There's a center of quietness within, which has to be known and held.
A center of quietness.
If you lose that center, you are in tension and begin to fall apart. This inner quietness, this centeredness, is vital for connecting to spirit, for acting from love instead of fear-driven tension.
So it's not about being passive or inactive. It's about acting from a place of calm clarity.
Precisely. It's the source of grace, power, and effectiveness, whether you're performing physically or just navigating life's challenges. It's acting from peace, not for peace.
This interconnection is described almost scientifically in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali.
Oh, interesting. How so?
It talks about gaining competence in the non-investigative linkage of one's attention to the higher concentration force.
Non-investigative linkage. What does that mean practically?
Well, the result it describes is experiencing the clarity and serenity which results from the linkage of the Supreme Soul and the Limited One. It sounds like plugging into a higher power source.
It really does. That non-investigative linkage, I think, points to a state of meditation or deep mindfulness where you're not analyzing or judging your experience. You're just attending, allowing awareness to merge with your focus without the mind getting in the way.
Moving beyond the analytical ego.
Exactly. And that higher concentration force, the Supreme Soul, that's the universal consciousness, the divine absolute love we've been talking about. When the chatter of the Limited One, our separate ego self, quiets down.
We can connect to that larger reality.
And the result is that clarity, that serenity. It's like finally tuning into a radio station that was always broadcasting, but our own mental static was drowning it out.
The cloud of unknowing, that medieval text, seems to echo this idea of bypassing the intellect too.
How does it put it?
It advises to mean God all, and all God, so that not work in your wit and in your will, but only God.
Not work in your wit. So let go of trying to figure it all out intellectually. Yes, it's a complete surrender of the ego's need to know, to categorize, to be in control through understanding. It's about letting your individual will and awareness merge with the divine will, with love.
And in that merging, the ego dissolves.
That's the idea. The limited self gives way to the experience of unity, of oneness. That's living fully in the spirit's world where fear literally has no place to stand because there's no separation.
Okay, we have these two contrasting worlds, the ego's world of fear and separation and the spirit's world of love and oneness. The big question for most of us is, how do we get from one to the other? How do we actually make that shift, especially when the ego feels so strong, so ingrained?
That is the question, isn't it? Aldous Huxley, in The Perennial Philosophy, points to a first step.
What is it?
He says the soul needs to put away outward things and look within so as to know its own real interest, to avoid the intoxication of the world.
Avoid the intoxication of the world. That sounds like detachment, turning inward.
Exactly. It's a conscious move away from the constant barrage of external distractions, the noise, the social pressures, the things that pull us away from our center.
Like endless scrolling, chasing status, constant busyness.
All of that. It's about asking what truly nourishes my soul versus what does the world tell me I should want. It echoes St. Augustine's famous prayer, "Let me know myself, Lord, and I shall know thee."
So self-knowledge is the path to knowing the divine.
That's the perennial wisdom. Understanding our own inner landscape, our true motivations, clearing out the ego's clutter, that's how we make space for spirit. The cloud of unknowing talks about a darkness between us and God.
A darkness.
But it clarifies this isn't an evil darkness. It's a lacking of knowing. A veil of ignorance, mostly of our own making, woven from egoic thoughts and attachments. The work is to clear that cloud, to pierce that darkness through inner focus and letting go.
There's a beautiful image for this inner struggle in Teresa of Avila's interior castle.
What's the image?
She talks about the soul as a little butterfly that flits around the external world but can find no lasting repose. It feels drawn to something deeper, experiencing a delectable torture as it yearns for God, its source.
A delectable torture, that captures it perfectly. That inner restlessness, the sense that worldly things don't quite satisfy, that longing for something more. That's the soul calling us inward, away from the intoxication.
So the first step is this turning inward, this detachment from the purely external focus. What comes next? Often we hear about surrender.
Yes, surrender is key, but it's so often misunderstood.
Right. People think it means giving up, being passive, like, oh, well, nothing I can do. Fatalism.
Exactly. But Eckhart Tolle offers a much more active and empowering definition in The Power of Now. He says surrender isn't resignation, it's acceptance of the now.
Acceptance of the present moment.
Yes. Recognizing reality as it is right now without mentally resisting it, he says, we don't have to let our anxieties and our desire for certain results dominate the quality of the moment.
So it's not giving up on action, but giving up the fight against what is.
Yeah.
Letting go of the need to control everything.
Precisely. It's releasing the ego's desperate grip on outcomes. Think about how much energy we waste resisting reality, wishing things were different, worrying about the future. Surrender frees up that energy.
How does that work in practice?
It means you still take action where appropriate, but you do it from a place of inner peace and acceptance, not from anxiety or desperation. Jon Kabat-Zinn talks about this beautifully in Wherever You Go, There You Are.
What does he say?
He speaks of allowing our lives to unfold and developing the wisdom to know when not to push to and when not to pull.
Discernment. Knowing when to act and when to allow.
Exactly. It requires trust. Trusting a larger process, trusting life. It connects back to the cloud of unknowing, which describes perfection as having a good and an according will unto God, a deep alignment and acceptance of what is, a well-pleasedness with how things unfold. Trusting it comes from love.
Okay, so acceptance of the now. But what about difficult emotions? Anger, grief, frustration, they're part of the now too. Do we just accept them and let them run wild? Or suppress them?
Neither, really. John Kabat-Zinn addresses this directly. He says, it's not that feelings of anger don't arise, we're human.
Right.
It's that the anger can be used, worked with, harnessed so that its energies can nourish patience, compassion, harmony, and wisdom.
Harnessing anger for wisdom. That sounds like alchemy. Turning lead into gold.
It absolutely is. It's the practical application of choosing love even when fear, in the form of anger or sadness, arises. Pema Chodron gives wonderful guidance on this in When Things Fall Apart.
What's her advice?
She advises opening our hearts to the human dilemma that causes so much misery. Not turning away from the pain, but turning towards it. Looking at our own weaknesses, our own difficult feelings, with enormous gentleness and clarity.
Gentleness and clarity, not judgment or resistance.
Exactly. Instead of pushing the ugly stuff away, we meet it with compassionate awareness. And in doing so, Pema says, we can transform what seems to be ugly into a flower.
Like composting, taking the waste and turning it into fertilizer.
That's a perfect analogy. When we meet our difficult emotions with acceptance, they lose their destructive power over us. We learn from them. We see the raw energy underneath. We understand our triggers, our patterns. They become fuel for wisdom, compassion, and resilience. It's seeing the difficult emotion not as the enemy, but as information, as energy to be worked with lovingly.
This whole process, the detachment, the surrender, the emotional alchemy, it sounds like a fundamental shift in who we think we are.
It is. It's an internal revolution. Theologia Germanica describes the outcome as the emergence of the new man.
The new man. Who's that?
It represents the state after the ego, the old man, has been relinquished. This new man is described as Christ and true obedience. Not obedience to external rules, but alignment with divine love. It involves a giving up and denying oneself of all temporal things and seeking the honor of God alone in all things.
Denying oneself. Again, sounds harsh.
But think of it as denying the false self, the ego. It's that dying unto himself, to earthly pleasures, consolations, joys, appetites, the I, the self. It's letting go of the ego's agenda.
To make space for something else.
Exactly. The text says it's about letting the creator enter in by allowing the creature, the limited ego self, to depart. It's becoming a clear channel for love, for spirit. This is the shift in perception Williamson talks about, the continuous choosing of love that opens the door to miracles. It's not a one-off fix, but a constant practice.
So if we really commit to this path, if we practice this shift from fear to love, from ego to spirit, what actually changes? What are the results, the fruits of this internal work?
Well, the first and perhaps most profound fruit is peace.
That vision, Williamson had a world of only peace.
Exactly. And this isn't just the absence of war or arguments. It's a deep inner state of being that arises naturally when the ego's noise quiets down.
It's not something you achieve by fighting for it.
No, it's what's revealed when the inner fight stops. Remember Joseph Campbell's athlete or dancer? Finding that peace within yourself, that center of quietness.
Right, acting from peace.
Yes. And the Yoga Sutras described that clarity and serenity that comes from linking the limited self with the supreme soul. Peace isn't somewhere out there to be found. It's our fundamental nature, waiting underneath the ego's turbulence. It's a homecoming.
Okay, peace. What about purpose?
Yep.
We're so driven by finding our purpose, usually through our careers or achievement.
Purpose. Tully challenges our usual thinking here quite radically.
How so?
He warns that seeking meaning primarily within the dimension of doing and of future will dissolve or turn out to have been a deception.
Ouch. So basing our purpose on what we achieve is potentially misguided.
According to Toll, yes, because those external things are temporary. They are destroyed by time. If your purpose is tied to your job title, what happens if you lose the job? If it's tied to your kids needing you, what happens when they grow up?
Your purpose seems to evaporate. So where's true purpose found?
Tolley suggests it's found in alignment with being with your true self right here, right now, which is timeless, not dependent on future results. Your value is inherent in your existence, not in what you accomplish.
So purpose is more about being than doing.
It's about the quality of your being informing your doing. Ralph Waldo Emerson put it simply, a good man is contented. Contented not necessarily with external circumstances, but with his inner state, his connection to being. Purpose arises from that state of alignment, not from chasing external validation. It's knowing you are already enough.
That's incredibly liberating. It takes off so much pressure.
It really does. It frees you from that exhausting, ego-driven need to constantly prove your worth.
Okay, so we have inner peace, a deeper sense of purpose rooted in being. This leads us back to Williamson's idea of miracles.
Yeah.
How does this shift connect to creating miracles?
It connects directly, because if our inner state shapes our perception and perception shapes reality, then shifting our inner state is how miracles happen.
Neil Donald Walsh makes a really bold claim about this.
What does he say?
He asserts, your future is creatable. Create it as you want it. Your thought about all of it is what makes it change instantly.
Instantly. Wow, that sounds like immense power. How does that square with everyday life where change feels, well, often slow and hard? That's where Williamson's understanding of miracles is helpful. A miracle isn't necessarily breaking the laws of physics. It's a shift in perception, prompted by love replacing fear, that changes your experience of reality. And often, reality itself follows.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine you're facing a really difficult conflict with someone. From a fear perspective, the ego's view, you might see only threat, blame, resentment. Your options feel limited. Fight, flee, freeze.
Right. Typical stress responses.
But if you consciously choose love, maybe finding compassion, seeking understanding, practicing forgiveness, even just accepting the situation without resistance, your perception shifts. Suddenly, you might see possibilities for connection, for learning, for resolution that were completely invisible before. That shift in perception is the miracle.
So the miracle is the change in how you see things, which then changes how you feel and act, and potentially changes the outcome.
Exactly. The slowness or difficulty we often feel comes from our own internal resistance, the ego clinging to its old fearful patterns. When we genuinely release that fear and choose love, the shift can feel instantaneous. The external world might take time to catch up, but your inner world, your experience, changes in that moment. What seemed impossible from fear becomes possible, or at least approachable, from love.
Our perception creates our reality, in a very real sense.
That's the core idea. Miracles are the natural result of aligning with love's energy.
There's a final, quite pointed thought from C.S. Lewis in The Great Divorce that seems relevant here.
What is it?
He describes a character, and the ultimate judgment, the whole question, boils down to, is she now a grumbler?
A grumbler. That's it.
Seems simple, but it's profound, isn't it? It suggests our habitual state of mind choosing gratitude or complaint, love or fear, openness or contraction, right now is what fundamentally defines our reality and our capacity for joy or misery.
It brings it all back to the present moment choice. Are you choosing the perspective of fear, grumbling, or love, gratitude, acceptance? That choice dictates your experience.
Wow, what a journey. From understanding that fundamental choice between fear and love, right through to seeing how that choice shapes our reality and opens the door to peace, purpose, and yes, miracles. A return to love really offers such a clear, compassionate map for this inner transformation.
It really does. And drawing on insights from Tolle, Lewis, Campbell, Walsh, and others just highlights how universal this path is. It's about peeling back the layers of the ego to reconnect with the love that Williamson and the Course say is our true essence.
So to everyone listening, remember this isn't just interesting spiritual philosophy.
Not at all.
It's a deeply practical path. It's about tools and perspectives you can use starting right now to bring more peace, more clarity, more connection into your life moment by moment.
Absolutely. And perhaps a final thought to leave you with, something to really reflect on. Consider the profound implication here. If shifting your own inner landscape from fear to love truly changes your experience, and if we're all connected as this one energy, then your inner shift isn't just personal.
It affects the whole.
It participates in transforming the collective consciousness. If Williamson is right, if love as an energy truly has the power to dissolve war, hunger, environmental destruction, then the question becomes very personal, very immediate. What small, seemingly insignificant choice towards love can you make today?
Like choosing understanding over irritation, or gratitude over complaint, forgiveness over holding a grudge.
Exactly. Any small shift away from fear and towards love, What choice can you make right now that might send a ripple outwards, creating a small miracle in your own life and maybe, just maybe, contributing to a larger miracle in the world?